Hey everyone, so I want to record a lot more videos in 2026 about vibe coding, about using AI to accomplish creative and personal tasks, about using AI at work, creating workflows, little pieces of software to make your life easier, effectively digitally clone yourself. And today I want to start that off with my current project, Drawn of War. It's a game I've been working on since June. I'm really happy with where I've gotten to. And I just want to show like current state how I'm working on it using Claude Code to continue to improve it. As those who are in the beta, I guess it's alpha really, testing group, know, as we're playing it together, I'm taking a lot of notes in a Notion page. So I use Notion to really organize my thinking around the game. It's just a nice place to continue to track, where I'm at in the project, what needs to get done, what's, certain, pieces of information, like where I'm hosting things, how I'm hosting things, architecture, things like that. Just very handy. But, I've got one user feedback backlog, which is where I'm tracking all the feedback I'm getting from the players who are testing, and I'm working through it. So it's a little messy, but that's okay. And so I'm working through this backlog based on feedback I'm getting from players. So that's been super fun. It feels like we're kind of building the game together, and the speed at which I can iterate and implement, at least at this phase, is really fast. So I'm excited about how quickly we can kind of try things out together, iterate, improve the game, and really like find the pathway to the most fun possible together. And that's generally been my approach with vibe coding for the past year. Chase the joy. Find something to work on that you're building that's going to give you that really satisfying feeling once you implement it. Like, yeah, I like really wanted to see that come to life, and there it is. Getting a lot of that through this process. So I've got my Notion. One of the things I want to work on today is I don't really like how the players in the game panel looks. So I'm just going to like screenshot this to begin with. And I'm going to throw that screenshot into my VS Code directory. So you'll see that in a second. But I'm just going to name it really quick. Player presence. And I'll just save that into a screenshot folder I have in my directory in VS Code. So let's go to VS Code. And so here you'll see, here's this enormous directory where I'm working on the game. And I'll just show you a few quick features. We've got .claude. This is where I'm managing my Claude agents, who I, will call or tell Claude to call on when we're doing particular pieces of work. We've got commands. My favorite one is start. So when I start a new session with Claude, like I'll do right now, I'm on Windows, so I have to run it in Linux. And I run it in dangerously skip permissions. So that'll start Claude, but it doesn't have context yet. So I just do /start, and that tells it to review our docs and the code base. So I keep this docs folder where we're tracking all the features we've built, as well as kind of our feature roadmap under specs. So this is where I've drafted out, with Claude's help, a breakdown from overarching vision of the game. So high level, what are the goals, user experiences, what's fun about it. Break that down into some big buckets, themes, and then we break that down further into epics. How do we strategically tackle those themes? And then break that down into features, where Claude will track its work on these features, and then tasks related to those features. And the reason to do this is it really chunks the work and has Claude hyper-focused on the smallest possible pieces. And that's really nice because then you have a large resource and context window for tackling a very small piece of the puzzle. And the more you can do that, the more kind of attention you can throw, more of Claude's attention you could throw at building each component of the game. You really want to avoid Claude trying to boil the ocean And the way to do that is through this doc breakdown structure, which forces Claude to really take a lot of time on each little piece of the puzzle. So I highly encourage people to explore that. The way I've done it is in my Claude agents and my claude.md. You know, I've explained to it doc-driven development. So in this, it sees that it has these documentation layers, and it knows when it starts working to call some of the agents that will create the right documentation for any bucket of work we're doing. So that setting up a good .claude is really important, and then supporting directory features like this this docs folder. Those two are like the key to me managing this project, and then the rest is the actual implementation of the game with some like sloppy, other documentation that's floated out here from previous iterations. I've got to clean that up eventually. So Claude is just finished. It's getting started. This is its typical response, but now it has looked at our documentation. It's looked at the code base, so it has a pretty good context for what we're doing. And now I want to give it specifically like, okay, on the home page and on the battle page, there are like player presence cards. I don't like how they look. They look much different visually from the rest of the UI. Let's talk about how to align them better with the UI. And I'm also going to point it at, so I've got a screenshots folder, and you can see I've got a lot of screenshots here. But this is a great way to, here's player's presence, so that's the card I want to change. This is a great way to help Claude get a little context specifically about what you're talking about. Take a look here. And then review our overall UI patterns and talk to me about mismatches. So let's see what Claude determines in terms of how this looks, which does look pretty different from the rest of the UI, which I can show you again here. I've got this nice kind of base blue and kind of parchment color, and then we've got this matrix color over here. So want to make that look a little bit better just to begin with. And then I think it could, this is kind of hard to read. It's small. And then over here, it's not really like positioned super intentionally in the overarching UI. We've got a lot of dead space. So there's some good amount of work to do here, but for this first step, I'll get it to look right. So let's see what Claude says. Let me get the window. Okay, it's still searching. It's looking at patterns in the front end. So that's good. We'll let that run for a minute here. Okay, so Claude is taking a look at everything. It's giving me this really nice readout here. I really love how the command line UI just keeps getting better and better. So we've got our design system and the current player list, so we're seeing some differences here. Yeah, it's got a retro terminal aesthetic, so it's giving me some options. Panel style, card style. I kind of think I like card style. What's the hybrid? Let's just do card style. Let's see what that looks like. Implement card style, please. So now, oh, wait. So that was me being lazy. I'm going to say follow doc driven dev and use sub agents to carefully plan and implement card style. This is like a front end component. That's kind of why I was being lazy. But it is, important to keep the documents up to date. So Claude is always creating its own understanding of the game and the project. So you can see here it's running a command for itself. So we have under .claude these commands, and one of them is start planning, and this is just telling it what to do whenever it's beginning to do some kind of development. So it's going to think through the request and think about things like asking discovery questions. It's going to refine scope, do some technical exploration, edge cases, talk about success criteria. So all of these things that you want to do whenever you're working on any feature. So here, it's determined that this is an L3 feature. So if we go to our docs and then go to specs, it's recognizing that card is kind of at a feature level. It's not an epic. It's not a task yet. So we've got to just talk about it at that level, document it at that level. So quickly read through this. It's asking me some questions. Okay, we definitely want it to be responsive. Should be responsive. Sometimes I'll copy this out and paste it into just notes so it's a little easier to read and respond. Which approach for activity status and indication? Yeah, let's do option A. Oh, text label. Text label's cool. Let's do option C. So in my responses, I just kind of respond sequentially, and it usually knows exactly what to do or how to interpret those responses. Okay, when a player is clicked, what happens currently? You should review the click functionality, leave it in place. We are just making cosmetic adjustments. Don't want to change the functionality. When a player is clicked right now, you kind of see their profile. Header. Should the title players use black text or dark amber? Black text. And search input. Let's do subtle, and then show more. Make a call. I don't care about that right now. Eventually I will, but I kind of just want to see it to understand what's going on. So, now it's going to take my answers. It's going to start looking at the code base a little more carefully with those answers. It'll update, so it's creating L3 specifications and implementation, or it's going to implement. So it's updating our documentation or creating a new doc in our L3 features around player visibility and that card. And so it's going to work for a good amount of time now. I don't think this will take too long. It's just a front-end UI component update. So it just wrote a doc, this UI polish update, player presence card. So all good with that. Now we have documentation. So if I ever come back to that card, I can say, hey, Claude, what have we done around this card? And it can go look and see, here's some previous work we've done. And building that context history is really important because it helps Claude not tread over previous strategies or things it's tried. I really want a history of, hey, we tried this before, we didn't like it, or here's what was wrong with it, so we don't try it again. And managing documentation in that way, and really like it's telling Claude to manage that documentation. I rarely read it because it's just a record of the conversations I'm having with Claude in the CLI. That's kind of the main managerial work I do when I'm telling Claude what to do. It's let's make documentation. Before you do that, let's make sure my vision is aligned with your understanding. I push it to really check that there aren't dependencies we're going to break by doing a new implementation. So carefully look at the code base, make sure our plan isn't high risk, and then make the documentation, use subagents to implement it, and then after it's implemented, I'm going to look at it either locally or if it's pretty low risk like this one, I might just deploy it and look at it, and we'll see what it looks like. I'll take screenshots. If it's something kind of like the game engine, I'll look at the backend logs, the console logs, give that back to Claude. So another important thing I'm doing as I'm building the game is I have all these deployment logs, and you can see how many times I've brought logs from the backend, or I bring in a console log, and I'm like, hey Claude, here's some bug I'm seeing, here's some problem I'm seeing in the game. Look at the logs. Let's talk about it. See what you can find. And this has been a really powerful way to give Claude the context of the game in deployment, and allows it to quickly understand what's going wrong, fix it. We redeploy, we iterate, and this has been a super effective way to continue to advance the game, refine it, fix bugs, and get it working really well. So documentation is important for managing the project. Logs are important for giving Claude the context of what's working, what's not working, how to fix things, and that's the strategy I've been using to build. So it just deployed. Claude did an okay job. I'll show you how it did. So here you can see, if I move myself, so before it was that matrix all the way down. Now we've got, at least it changed the list of the players, but it didn't change the find players. So I've got to go back to Claude and say, hey, okay, pretty good. Okay, you changed the online players list. Good. But you didn't change the find player card. That needs to look like the online players card too. Further, you can also see the next thing I want to work on here is when you click on a player, we get this pop-up. One, it's pretty small, so that's not great. And two, like, again, the visualization doesn't look aligned. So I'm going to take a screenshot of that, save that to my screenshot directory, call that like player profile pop-up. Important to name all your docs. And we go back to VS Code and talk to Claude. And, okay, further, the we need to align the player profile pop-up UI as well to our overarching themes. Where's that player? So you can at your files, and their player profile modal. Those are not the screenshots. So one way is trying to find it this way. I've got so many now. Adding it is sometimes slower. So if I just go to screenshot, I can come down, find that file I just uploaded. Here it is. Copy the path. Say check it out. Talk to me about updating the find player component, and then the player profile pop up, and also when you click through that to gallery, like what is it called? View gallery, view gallery, and the creature views within it all need to align to our core UI themes. So, it's kind of like home improvement. Like you knock down one wall and you discover a lot of other things, and there's just so much to manage. Was listening to somebody earlier talking about how in 2026 humans are really just going to become the bottleneck. Like these tools will be able to move so quickly in developing code and iterating on that code that my ability to solo review all the work is going to be the bottleneck. So like, I started off, I wanted to update that card, and then I see, oh, we got to update all these other components, and I'm discovering it, at the speed of my attention and the speed of my systems. So, I think one of the things I'm learning is how do I develop a more systematic mindset around the management of a digital product like this. And I think there's probably a system or tools I need to put into place where I can have a better mental model of dependencies, consequences. Because, for example, for this whole online player card, if I had a shortcut document for myself where it's like, oh, the player card is tied to clicking in and seeing a player profile and clicking in and seeing their creature gallery, and excuse me, clicking in and seeing creatures. I could have told Claude at the beginning, hey, here are like the 4 cards that are all dependent on each other. Update all of them at the same time. Okay, so let's see. We've got player search, player file, so that's the list of players, nested modals, unified pattern. That's what we want. Okay, follow doc driven dev, use sub agents, do option A. So now it'll work again, make those updates to the whole UI stack. And you can see here the tasks it's made for itself. So it's going to make another L3 spec, just so we're tracking like, okay, we're updating, all of these components. It'll do the work restyling each of those cards we were just looking at. This is the status indicator. It'll update that in the various cards. And then it will run it locally just to verify that the design worked. This still has some room for improvement. It obviously missed that it didn't fix the find player card, but it did do the online player card. But it's still really cool to see Claude open a browser, look at something that it's running locally, and evaluate its own work. But I don't yet trust it to just let it, run full stop. I really want to be in the loop still and kind of verify and look at things. But I can imagine not that long from now, just giving Claude like a week's worth of work and saying, okay, I'll come back in a week. Let's see how you do. So it's deploying some CSS agents, some front-end agents to do the work. Probably doing some of these in parallel because you can do them in parallel. While it's doing that, the other thing I'll point out in terms of managing my own attention to a project, I often have like many, many different Claudes running at the same time. So here on the right, you see all these different terminals. And I have started renaming the terminals to help me track what work I'm doing in each terminal. So this one, I'm working on battle readability. This is around creature generation. This is around mobile battle view, ranged attacks, loading screen feature. And I forgot to rename this one, but I would rename it to player presence. Just so as I'm toggling between them to check, where the work is at, I quickly remember, okay, here we're working on battle readability. Here we're working on creature gen. And that is key to managing multiple Claudes at the same time. The most I've successfully managed is 6, and like that's pushing it. Because again, like I'm becoming the bottleneck where there's only so much I can think about carefully and thoughtfully um, at the same time. And Claude is working really fast. So sometimes, this is going to take maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But sometimes it's a little feature and it's done in like 2 minutes, and I have to come back and kind of reorient to what I was working on in that terminal. Um, so this is a decent strategy for that. And then having my Notion up um, and looking at the Notion at the same time, where I'm crossing things off. I'm often bolding the thing I'm working on currently. So like there's a creature trade system. I got to work on that, so it's bolded. I was working on recent battles, like having that show up, so I'm bolding it, just so I'm like keeping track here too. Like where am I at in the project? Which is helpful for like when I step away, I come back, I look at those terminals of Claude, and I'm like, what was I working on in that terminal? Don't remember. So getting alignment between your personal note taking, the terminals you're running, naming the terminals for the work you're doing in it, all really helpful tips. So um, I realized my VS Code, I was cutting off the bottom. So sorry about that. I am getting new to streaming. I will get better. So anyway, I was typing in the terminal the whole time. Get a better view going on. But anyway, so I had to iterate twice with Claude, giving it screenshots like this one where it kind of did the right implementation, but it missed this outer edge. Um, and now it is looking pretty good. So if we look at, um, let's see, let's get a better view here. Over here on the right, this is what I was updating the whole time. And now we find, the find player, if you remember what it looked like at the beginning, it looked like this screenshot here. So it was this kind of matrix color, not very nice, or it's fine, but it's not aligned with what our overarching scheme looks like. Now it's more aligned, so we've made that update, and each of these player profile views now looks also aligned. They kind of had that matrix look, but now if you click through all the modals, they have the right color scheme. So, that was like maybe 30 minutes of work. Maybe it would have gone a little faster if I wasn't also trying to learn how to record. But just wanted to start sharing the process, the thinking, because these tools are going to continue to get better and better. I think managing them will become easier and easier. This isn't lovable, but I think VS Code and Claude Code is moving in one direction of ease of use. Lovable is moving in another direction of allowing you to build more and more complicated products. And eventually they'll meet somewhere in the middle, I think this year, where, we'll all have a pretty good handle on building digital products using AI with, without needing to write code necessarily. So just trying to explain my thinking here, and it'll be interesting to see how things evolve over the coming year.